Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool will give up a chance for a 30% discount.
What is it?
It's your new pet. Number one, you gotta keep him out of bright light. Number two, keep him away from water.
It's incredible.
And probably the most important thing, don't ever feed him after midnight.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me as always is Aaron.
Well, hello there.
This week, we're discussing the horror new classic, old classic, some kind of classic, Gremlins, starring Phoebe Cates, Zach Galligan, Corey Feldman is in this thing. The list goes on.
Yeah.
An all-star.
Yeah.
I mean, when this episode comes out, it will be long past. But nevertheless, I felt that it was appropriate. We're recording it around Christmas time, but it'll come out probably Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's.
That's right. 4th of July, whatever.
It'll be next year around Christmas time, perhaps. Good grief. As you know, each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Aaron, how you doing? What's the latest?
I'm sitting here in my underwear, and I'm trying the old TikTok thing where it says if you just wear red lipstick, like bright red lipstick, you don't notice that I'm not wearing any other makeup. Also, I'm drinking...
Clothes.
Yeah, it confuses you. You're looking at my red lipstick that's now all over my teeth, and you don't notice I'm in my underwear.
Interesting.
And I'm drinking a functional seltzer. Do you know what those are?
I do not know what that is.
When they first came out, they're neither alcohol nor are they weed. It's some herbs and spices that give you a relaxed and more relaxed feeling depending on how many you have. When they first came out, they were making you be 21. And now anyone can buy it because they figure, a 15-year-old's not going to spend $23 for 4 cans of soda. That makes you relaxed.
Sweet Jesus. Does it have like Valium in it? Ayahuasca? What's in it these days?
I don't know. I can tell you that it's gluten-free and vegan. It's nootropics, NOO, and who the hell knows?
Indeed. No one is the answer.
Basically, it's like lion's mane mushroom and God knows what else.
Well, lion's mane mushroom is a trick. They do have some shit in those mushrooms. Make no mistake.
It's mushroom soda. I ate a lion. I don't know why it showed up in one of my imperfect boxes. I'm like, give me one of them lion manes. And I cooked it up. I didn't feel anything. So let's be known that this is it's lion mane's mushroom extract, where they just extract the good stuff. But it's watermelon lime, so it's actually quite delicious. I'm going to bring you some and make you drink it in front of me. I had a different brand, and I had like 2 of them. Usually 2 of them, I'm like drifting off to sleep. And then I'm like, I didn't get that relaxed feel. I mean, it tasted really good. It was really like a passion fruit, and now I just read it. Caffeine. I was like, oh, that's what you get.
I do like my soda with just a hint of mushroom. Am I right?
I mean, it doesn't taste like a Spanish omelet. I mean, is that your concern?
That is, in fact, my
concern. You would like it. I'm bringing it over. We'll share it with your wife and children.
I can't wait.
It's only 30 calories.
Can I tell you a story?
Is it about nootropics or
I'm
lion
changing the
made?
subject. Christmas Eve, I wanted to
Yes.
sit down and watch It's a Wonderful Life with the fam. The family, the kids were in open revolt. They said it's too goddamn old. And my eldest,
What?
Grace, I know, horrifying. My eldest, Grace, insisted, if you like It's a Wonderful Life, have you seen the Nicolas Cage classic Family Man? And I was like, what is happening? What is happening? So that's
First
what
of
we wound
all-
up watching.
First of all, I saw Family Man like at Christmas time and almost got divorced because my husband, I was like, this is ridiculous. Both of his lives were legitimate.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to be the family man. You don't have to have kids to have a legitimate life. And he thought I was doing something. I'm like, you got the crazies.
No.
You got a touch of the crazies.
My children have learned the wrong message in life. Yes, Nicolas Cage, but not all Nicolas Cage. You know what I'm saying? You got to turn your back
Oh my
on something.
God.
Family
Honestly,
Man-
I blacked that whole movie out. I blacked that movie out because I was like, oh, geez Louise, sorry, I'm going to put my phone off because I'm very popular during the holidays. The rest of the time, I could be a decomposed corpse for 3 months before
And no one
anyone
would know.
realizes. And no one would know. But come the holidays, ping, 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 ping.
No. We argued about this. We all felt Family Man is a horrible movie with a horrible message because you're right. He's perfectly content when he's the successful single businessman.
Yeah.
Not misery. He's not drinking. Like he's not like an asshole. In fact, he like goes way to like help somebody, and it's like he's punished because he's sent back to live this life that he did not choose for like 2 months, where he's like, oh, and then of course over the 2 months he realizes, oh yes, I love this life, only to have the evil angel say, and now we're taking it away. Hope you enjoyed it, because remember that little girl who was your daughter that you're gonna hug? You will never see her again.
That's right.
Okay?
She's dead to you. Yeah. I
Even-
mean, it's a terrible message, and it's a
It makes no
terrible
sense.
movie.
It makes no genie sense, and
It
it's like
makes
it
no
ends.
goddamn sense. Just like it makes no sense that your kids will not watch It's a Wonderful Life, which is one of my holiday classics. It's like Scrooge and It's a Wonderful Life. And I always watch It's a Wonderful Life on New Year's.
Now, when you say Scrooge, are you talking George C. Scott? Or are you talking A Christmas
Never
Carol?
Okay, first of all, never George C. Scott. Never. Not
Okay.
Commander Picard either. We got to go old school. You got to go British. You got to go like mid World War II,
Captain Picard?
or not Jean-Luc. I like old school black and white, or I like the mom Albert Finney. I mean, I
Okay.
like it. I mean, if they took all of them away, as long as it's not a Jim Carrey production, I'm down. I made my class watch The Muppet Christmas. They all
With
tuned
Michael
it out.
Caine.
With Michael Caine. I mean, I'm still trying to find. There's like this old 1930s version where he looks out the window with the Ghost of Christmas Present, and there's like a woman in the snow with a baby who's slowly freezing to death, and you see all the ghosts of people that have passed on trying to help but cannot, just surrounding her.
Oh, God.
Horrible, right? That's what makes it good.
But there are, in this movie we're going to talk about, Gremlins, you see some kind of callbacks to A Christmas Carol if you're looking closely.
Yes, you do.
Sweet Jesus.
Yes, you do.
So, that being said, why don't you give us your 30-second synopsis of Gremlins?
Oh my God. So you have the idiot repairman, the Ron Popeil, some might say, wanders into some racist portrayal of Chinatown, trying to buy a gift from his son in the land of, they were like herbs and spices. How about some lion's mane? I don't know. And hear that in the background. Don't look upon it. It's none of your business. It's not for sale. I mean, this is definitely some kind of like, oh no, stop, don't. Like a Willy Wonka thing. And then his grandson just takes it and sells it to him for 200. I mean, this thing should, first of all, it shouldn't have been locked in a box at the Chinatown place, but this thing is like a time bomb. Even if you got to be on your toes, no matter how cute it is, you got to be on your toes. I'm drifting away. Anyway, it comes home, comes with the list of rules, which of course nobody follows. And gremlins. They got him. They fed him. They got him wet. They turned gloppy. Sight gag. I guess they got them all, but they couldn't have because there's a Gremlins too.
Fair. It's interesting. I saw this movie. I'm almost convinced I saw it in the theater back in whatever.
I think I might have seen it in the theater. Maybe.
It was huge.
Maybe?
But it's as always, the three rules make zero goddamn sense. Because number one is, I guess, bright lights. You can't have any lights around it.
It's vampire, Nosferatu.
100%. Fine. The other two are ridiculous because number two is you can't get them wet and you can't even let them drink water. Hoyt Axton says, don't even get water to drink. Okay. Which defies all laws of what we know about human life or animal life on this planet.
Right.
And then it's don't feed them after midnight. I mean, what? Greenwich Mean Time? How do I mean, which time does it matter? Which midnight?
I mean, that is a good call. Can I take him to Europe? Which midnight is that?
100%. And
that's a little vague.
Watching this movie, Gizmo's the main gremlin, the Mogwai, and he's perfectly pleasant, nice to be around. No problem.
Lovely pet. I would buy one, if not for a few of the caveats.
The issue is, the moment that goddamn thing gets splashed with water, the other gremlins that come out are already hell on earth. They act like if you feed them, then the shit hits the fan. They were already pulling whammies when they were sweet and cuddly. They hung that goddamn dog up by the Christmas lights before they were ever reptilian and gross.
Yeah, so, before they became the reptile people, they were already assholes. They should have put them in the 100%. Microwave then.
That we need to talk about that. Number one, this movie is ridiculously violent. This is a kids movie, but the way they dispatch a lot of the gremlins is straight up stomach churning, arguably.
It is a bunch of people in a room on cocaine coming up with sight gag after gag after gag after gag until you gag. I'm like, haven't they killed them yet? What are they coming up with? I mean, it gets a little old after a while.
Well, and then, not just are the gremlins biting the dust left and right, the people are killed right and left. I mean, the town is basically like a ghost town after this is over because everybody's fucking dead. Basically,
are they eating them? And why wouldn't they eat them? Why not?
Might as well.
Can they feed themselves after midnight, or is it just has to be from your hand? They can't. I mean, clearly they unplugged the clock radio to confuse the human. But what's stopping them from just marching downstairs and snapping into a Slim Jim or something?
100%. That's why the respectful portrayal of the Chinese man in Chinatown. Telling them it's too much responsibility.
It's too much responsibility, and I literally thought we were just rolling into Big Trouble in Little China.
Well, that dude, unless I'm crazy, was the dude Grasshopper snatched the pebble from my hand.
Snatched the pebble from my hand?
Yes.
Oh, dude, I have to revisit that. I was a little obsessed with that, as was our mother. Grasshopper snatched the pebble from my hand.
Another respectful representation of our Asian friends. So anyway,
I know. I remember reading this autobiography this biography of Bruce Lee, I was like, oh, they robbed him, those
They did him wrong.
bastards.
100%.
Yep, they did.
100%. Why don't we jump right in to the highlights, Aaron? What do you got? You got your notebook out? Crack it open.
Oh, I forgot to open it, but I'm just going to go right to
Please.
the merchandising for this movie. I think changed movies forever. I just don't remember. I mean, sure, there was shit with E.T., but oh my God. The Gremlins were off the chain. There was the little Mugwai, and there was 1,000 of them. I mean, literally, the Furby is a ripoff of the Mugwai.
Absolutely. First of all, it's Mogwai, not to
Whatever.
mansplain. Which is actually...
Thank you, man, for correcting me publicly, you bastard.
And I guess Mogwai is actually a Chinese word meaning demon or some shit. So it's real.
It is kind of a demon.
It's a demon. Well, what I was reading about this, how in the original script, which was written by Chris Columbus, who later directed Home Alone and a whole sorts of other
God,
things.
I hate Home Alone. It reeks of him.
He in the original script, Gizmo becomes Stripe.
Oh, people didn't like that.
No, Spielberg, who was the producer of this, told Joe Dante, who was the director, he's like, negative. We're going to have a friendly Gizmo all the way through,
right?
That you can root for. And Joe Dante said that really kind of made the movie, that decision made the movie into the classic.
Family classic.
The family classic that people thought, that really allowed them. Here's a sweet little critter voiced by Howie Mandel, by the way.
God, Howie
Mandel. And they did.
That's
they
so
made
funny.
A sequel about 5 years later. Gremlins 2, The New Botch.
What always confused me about this is Gizmo frickin' speaks English, but no one asks him any questions.
Well, it's a reveal that at the end he speaks English.
He's speaking the whole time. Bright light.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. He does speak English.
What the hell? And no one just says, dude, what should we do about this situation? That's what I'd be doing. My little thing, and he's not just repeating things like a bird. He's identifying things. And I mean, he's sitting in bed reading, smoking a pipe, I mean, for God's sakes, the thing is talking. Talk to it. How do we get rid of these sons of bitches?
It's true. Well, you can kill them any normal way. Any guns, knives, blenders, microwaves, fireplaces, swords.
I gotta say, don't F with that mom. She was dispatching them left and right with butcher
100%.
knives and microwaves. She was like, ping, ping, ping. I'm not sure our mom would have been up for that.
Hell no. She when she finds the cocoons up in whatever's in Zach Galligan's room, she goes, shit's gone crazy. So when she goes down into the kitchen and sees one like eating life cereal or whatever the hell it's doing, and another one's licking whatever it's licking out of the blender, she does not hesitate. She just automatically knows these are demons from hell. And flips the switch on the blender, and you see chunks of that goddamn gremlin shooting right out. Pow!
Yeah. Disgusting.
Right?
Well, first of all,
Horrible.
they made the cocoons look just like the things from Alien. So at that point, you need to start stomping that biz.
100%.
Don't wait for the face hugger. Don't wait for Stripe to come and eat your family.
No question. She blends the first dude. She takes a butcher knife, and mercifully, she stabs it to death off camera. We don't see the hacked up body, but she does spray one with like, I don't know, bug spray or something.
Yeah.
And pushes it into the microwave and fires it up. And you see that thing just explode in there. Boom.
Dude.
This is a PG movie.
You're not cleaning up that microwave. You're going to have to get a new microwave after
Hell
that.
Hell no. This movie, the violence in this is a kid's movie, ostensibly. The violence in this movie and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where people are getting their hearts torn out, force the MPAA to come up with PG-13.
Right.
Basically.
People are always pushing that shit.
Yes.
Family movies should not be what's pushing it to come up with new ratings. You know what I'm
Right.
saying, brother?
Right.
The thing with Gremlins, which has always confused me because I grew
Please.
up with Warner Brothers old cartoons, and Gremlins are a thing from like World War II, you know, the machinery's going on. I mean, in that Twilight Zone episode with Captain Kirk, that's a gremlin on the wing throwing stuff
Correct.
into the engine. That's what a gremlin is. It's
Yes.
not, I'm going to eat your face.
Well,
They're just, it's f***ery.
Right. In my mind, I always thought gremlins were some sort of mythical creature discussed in Middle Ages time, like you'll find them in wood cuttings or something. No,
Yeah,
like you
no.
said, this is from the 1900s.
Yeah.
Basically, when, like you said, when the aircraft would go, like whatever, the compass or the radio would go on the front.
It was something to blame these mechanical
Correct.
mishaps on.
Correct. And that's the thing. The reason why they start talking about gremlins in this is Dick Miller, who is in every Joe Dante movie, talks about, I don't know, when he was in World War II or whatever, there were some
When he was fighting the Kaiser and the Red Baron.
100%. 100%. And later, before he and his wife are killed by the runaway tractor, he says, it's a gremlin. Like he identifies it on sight as being, there are gremlins. And then this is like for laughs. They're going to be murdered. They're going to be crushed by a 2-ton tractor. And you never see them again. I think they actually appear in the sequel. And if you're listening close, there's a throwaway line like they're in the hospital or some shit.
Oh, but Jesus Christ. I do like him, though. I do like him. He needs to be in everything.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, what's the purpose of the gremlin? Just to kill everyone and then have a gremlin world?
Right.
It doesn't seem like they're going to be out foraging for food. Like, if they don't have their human overlord, who's going to be taking care of them?
I think it is, they're there to cause mischief, but it's mischief on a mortal scale, if you will. It's like they're not just, lights aren't just flickering out. Like, there's going to be
They don't have a plan. They're not the Borg. It's just chaos for chaos sakes.
Correct.
Although with no there's not a plan.
Correct. But what I was going to say is, you think that Stripe is the leader. Is somehow he's pulling the strings on some level. But who knows what's happening in this movie? We got to talk about what's happening. There's Zach Galligan, who I keep wondering, how old is he supposed to be? Because he seemingly has a job at the bank, right? He's a teller at the bank, but then still lives in his parents'
seems to be in high school.
Yes, and hangs out with Corey Feldman, who is about 12 in this movie. So I don't know what the story is.
Reminds me when we were talking about Salem Shite, Lance Kerwin hanging out with like little kids. I'm like,
right. It makes. I think at one point the kid, his character was supposed to be younger, and then they kind of aged him up for some, because this movie's a bloodbath, and you can't have like little kids running around where it's like literally carnage.
Yeah, I mean, they don't need him to work in the bank. They just wanted the bank so they could do that frickin' Wizard of Oz bullshit, which is also, they wanted to be the building and loan kind of crap. I don't know.
Right. It's a Wonderful Life meets Ebenezer Scrooge. And the woman who, I guess, runs the bank, but still
who is the old witch who's trying to kill Toto on top of it.
Well, and she's also
I'll get you, my pretty.
She's Flo from Alice, if you remember that show as well. So it's a
Kiss My Grits.
She was Kiss My Grits. 100%.
Oh my gosh, I did not pick that up at all. It's been quite some time.
She runs the bank and yet has to like go to the teller window, which doesn't make any sense.
Stop you. I did tell you once that I met Vic Tayback at Bananas down in the Palm Springs. And by met, I saw him.
Bananas was a sports bar / nightclub in the Greater Palm Springs area. And evidently Mel from Alice was
Yes.
was dancing the night fantastic with Aaron to the sounds of
That's
Finding
how
Cannibals.
we tell the tale.
Vic Tayback, 100%. Sweet Jesus. But
And that's when he was at his prime. That was prime Vic.
that is
wasn't
some
like
goddamn
yesterday.
bullshit. That is bullshit. If he was at Bananas, it's at least 15 years after the cancellation of Alice. And
But it
at
was
that
still
time,
syndicated.
and when he was on Alice, he was not in his prime. So let's sweet Jesus.
I just meant it wasn't yesterday, and he was 108.
Fair. Okay. But there was a nice moment where the some poor spinster woman's there with her children meeting Flo. I'm just calling her Flo outside the bank, asking that she not be evicted, and Flo was as cruel as you might imagine. It was just like, I don't give a shit. Go freeze.
Pure Lionel Barrymore. It was pure Lionel Barrymore. If only she'd been in a wheelchair too, that would have been fabulous.
Well, and she seemed very spry when we see her in the entire movie, except when she's home and she has to ride, like, she can't go up the stairs in her mansion. She has to get into the little cart and go up.
Which makes no goddamn sense.
They just wanted her to be in a funicular to go up the stairs so that the gremlins could pull some wires. And she goes up there like a goddamn rocket, flies right out the
100%.
window, dead.
100%.
Killed by the gremlins. Killed by the gremlins. Crashes. It wasn't, I mean, I guess it's played for laughs until they show her corpse literally on the side of the road. I'm like, what is happening? And we haven't even talked about Phoebe Cates. Phoebe Cates from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Mrs.
Is she
Kevin
12
Kline.
here? Was she already married to Kevin Kline at this point?
Perhaps. There's
Considering he was the same age as her parents, I believe.
Or her grandparents, as far as I know.
No.
He
still looks good, though.
I love Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
But she talks about how she hates Christmas in the most ridiculous anecdote the world has ever noticed. Aaron, would you share the anecdote with us? Why
I can't even remember. Go ahead and share it.
Okay, here's what it is. When she was a child, her father wanted to surprise the family by dressing up as Santa.
That's right.
And going down the chimney. But he got stuck and he slipped and his neck was broken in the goddamn chimney. Again, anybody who has an actual chimney, you'd have to be like a snake to slither down your chimney.
Okay.
A person couldn't do it.
I have a local tale.
Oh, shit.
An attorney and her boyfriend. In fact, somebody at my book club, this was her attorney. So the attorney, female,
yes,
is having a drunken fight with the boyfriend. She is asked to leave. He locks the door, but she ain't done yet. She is up on the roof. She is down the chimney. It is 3 weeks before they figure out what's going on.
She died? She got stuck
They
in the
found her
chimney.
body in the chimney.
And that's basically what happens in this story. That's a horrible story, Aaron.
But it's pure Bakersfield, of course. And then if you tell that story, 3 people would say, "Oh yeah, I knew her," or "Yeah."
Good grief! So she got stuck, and then just slowly expired over however long it took.
It's that thing where it's too narrow, and if you can't expand your chest, then that's it. You
Can't
suffocate.
call for help. Oh, good Lord. Now I can't even make these jokes that I want to make, Aaron. Thanks. You ruined the show. But anyway,
I'll keep going.
Anyway, that's why Phoebe Cates hates Christmas. And again, this is a kids' movie. Believe it or not, the network the movie executives were like, "We can't have that in this movie. And
This is
Spielberg,
pure 80s. It's pure 80s nonsense. This is a classic 80s situation.
Spielberg hated it too, but he figured it's Joe Dante's movie. If Joe wants it in there, it's his choice. But it's the most ridiculous. It is, I was going to say ridiculous. Clearly not. This is standard Bakersfield behavior, evidently.
Do you know, we have a whole podcast now called Notorious Bakersfield with just weird tales of crime and debauchery.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
We got all kinds of shenanigans going on here.
God help us all. So what else? What other notes you got, Aaron? Sweet Lord, I'm just bouncing around.
They have school on Christmas Eve. I thought that was weird. The dude from Breaking Bad is in it.
Right.
Why don't they eat people?
Mike Ehrmantraut. That's the thing about Mike. His real name, oh God, Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks was in a million things in the 80s. I mean, he was in Beverly Hills Cop. He was in Buckaroo Banzai. He's in
great.
48 Hours.
I love him.
Yeah. He can play kind of wacky, and he can play very serious and kind of scary as well. He can do it all. He's in a wacky moment as the sheriff's deputy. The sheriff and the deputy are getting blitzed out of their mind. And of course, the calls are coming in. We're being killed. And they literally see a guy being attacked by gremlins. And Jonathan Banks is like, Sheriff, we need to leave. We need to get out of here and abandon this poor bastard to his fate until like the brakes have been clipped by the gremlins and they, of course, go up.
Hey, just like Salem Shite, where the cops are just like, I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
It was a whole thing. Sweet Jesus. The gremlins, to answer your question, they do kind of bite and they do kind of scratch, but it doesn't appear there's ever a scene where they're like, you see them like over a semi-digested corpse. Let's just say that.
And how come they don't talk? How come they only talk when they're cute? Listen here, sir. Listen here, Stripe. What's going on?
They do the thing that Gizmo did, where they kind of mumble and shit, and occasionally a word will come out. But who knows? And in fact, there's a whole scene when they're at the bar, and they're like wearing costumes, like clothes and hats, and smoking cigarettes, and doing all sorts of shit. They're like Muppets.
Phoebe Cates keeps trying to light the cigarette, and he just keeps backing up until she gets the Polaroid camera out, which is a fact that it will in fact blind you because those flashes were so freaking strong.
Well, she is literally serving them drinks and trying to light their cigarettes. They're monsters, see Phoebe. Phoebe, they're monsters. What are you doing? You don't need
just pour vodka on them and light the match, for God's sakes. They don't need, sex on the beach or a tequila sunrise.
Well, and she's established that she works at the bar like multiple times a week for free, just to help out the bar owner who's a friend or some shit.
I thought it was a family business, so it's for no apparent reason.
Because she's a nice person and it's Christmas.
Because she's a nice person. I literally have no other notes except I wrote 1,000 Gremlin sight gags. It is, and by the end, it was slipping into the Muppet, especially when they're all in the theater. They're swinging from the shed. I thought that was Gonzo. There was Animal. There was Beaker and Professor Honeydew in the back.
It was a whole thing. It was a
cinch. It was a cinch.
Like, they could have ended this in 5 seconds, but of course, Stripe. They allow Stripe to run across town. The thing's 2 feet tall. It's 2 feet tall, running on 2 legs.
There wasn't enough popcorn. Well, no, there wasn't enough popcorn. So he had to go across the street to the candy store because they read too.
That's not.
He saw the sign that says candy.
That's not what I was talking about. I
Oh,
was talking
sorry.
about the beginning of the movie, or towards the middle of the movie, where he is the last gremlin around,
All
and he
right.
runs and jumps into the swimming pool at the YMCA. And
Oh
before,
yeah, it was
and
bubbling.
and then that's like, we're screwed. You might as well just move away at that point. What are we doing?
National Guard. Bring in the National Guard. Yeah, I mean, and then of course, if you have a modern building, you light a fire. I kept waiting for the overhead sprinklers. That's one bit they forgot to do. It could have been the overhead sprinklers came on, and then everybody
Oh,
starts
absolutely.
bubbling.
There's a lot of bubbling, no question. Well, you like this
Bubbling.
the Joe Dante bubbling transformation. You remember that from The Howling, when the guy is turning into the werewolf and it's a lot of bubbling. They
Yeah,
like
I
that.
hate all these werewolf transformations. Just give it up.
Just
One
give it
minute
up.
he's a regular guy, the next minute it's not. It always looks like shit.
And we didn't even talk about Judge Reinhold is in this movie for about 10 minutes and is never referred to.
It's
or
all
seen
Fast
again.
Times again. It's all Fast Times.
It is.
I was waiting for Spicoli. That would have and Mr. Hand. If those
They're
two could have
available.
showed up, oh dude, they could have been like the old those two old men up at the movie theater. You could have had Mr. Hand with Mr. Spicoli making comments.
Like Stadler and Waldorf. Is that who you're talking about?
Yes.
Jesus. Do you have anything else about Gremlins, or should we go behind the scenes?
Let's go behind the scenes. This is not one of my favorite movies.
Oh, it's a shame. The set for Kingston Falls, where the story took place, is the same one used for Back to the Future. Both movies were filmed on the Universal Studios backlot.
Yeah,
It's
that's
that-
what I figured.
It's that center. It's like if you do it, there's like a town square set that they've used.
Same if you go on the Warner Brothers lot. It looks exactly the same. In fact, I've watched movies, I'm like, they didn't even move a planter. This is totally the back lot, and they didn't do one goddamn thing to change it.
Shh. There's a scene at the beginning which I laughed at, where Zach Galligan's walking down the street at the beginning of the movie. He's late for work, and he's bringing his dog with him for some godforsaken reason. And he passes the dentist. He says, "Good morning, Charlie." He says, "Good morning, Dr. Moreau." Coincidence? I don't think
Coincidence. If only if it was Val Kilmer.
100%. Marlon Brando. An early attempt with the Gremlins. They're like, should we do stop motion animation? Should we do puppets? At one point, they're like, let's just put a rubber mask on a monkey, and that will be the Gremlin.
And that's when that Corey Feldman went to the dark side after the monkey ate his lips.
100%. 100%. Needless to say, the monkey didn't appreciate it. Let's just say that. Little or no actual dialogue for the Gremlins and Mogwai existed in the script. In addition to several instances of on-set rewrites, changing or adding much to the script, the voiceovers were mostly ad-libs, repeating snippets of just performed dialogue or in reaction to other sound effects or environment. To this end, Howie Mandel recorded Gizmo's lines phonetically for foreign dubs of the movie, where localized dialogue and in-jokes helped make this movie successful worldwide.
Okay.
There you go.
All
Isn't that
right.
good stuff?
He's a genius.
One of the studio notes to director Joe Dante and executive producer Steven Spielberg on seeing the first cut was that there were too many Gremlins. Spielberg suggested cutting them all out and calling the movie People.
Ooh.
That's called sarcasm. So there we go. Good time. This film
Thank
was
you.
released the same day as Ghostbusters, by the way.
It's a wonder we even heard about it.
It was a huge hit, Aaron. It was like the number.
Was it?
Yeah.
Compared to Ghostbusters was iconic.
Ghostbusters was a bigger hit, but Gremlins was
Yes.
definitely a hit. At least one of Phoebe Cates' screams in the scene at Dory's Tavern is genuine. An enormous cockroach crawled out in front of her during one of the takes. So there you go.
Great.
Wah, wah. Chris Columbus's script went through a few drafts before a shooting script was finalized. His original version had the Gremlins killing the dog and cutting off the mom's head and tossing it down the stairs.
Great.
These
Merry
elements
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
they were never shot due to the fact that the director and Warner Brothers wanted the movie to be more family oriented.
Wait, this is a Warner Brothers film, so why were they shooting everything at Universal?
I don't know. That's a good question.
According to you.
Maybe they were busy. After the film's release, director Joe Dante said, "I still have no idea why this picture was successful." Fair. Let's talk about the cast and crew. Let's see. We talked about the director, Joe Dante. You know him from such things as Inner Space with Dennis Quaid.
No.
You've never seen Inner Space? Shut up.
No. Is that where they shrink you down and inject you inside the body?
100%.
I think I saw the original.
The only? There was no, like... You think
there was
an
old, like, 50s or 60s where they're inside the body.
Oh, you're talking about Fantastic Voyage.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay, that's not Inner Space. He directed Gremlins. He directed The Howling, Small Soldiers, Piranha, one of my favorites. Piranha. The Burbs. List goes on and on.
I saw The Burbs.
He's great. Chris Columbus directed it, or should be wrote it. You know him for he directed Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
I do like the Potter movies.
He did all sorts of stuff.
I saw I own The Help. I like The Help.
Help
because they had Lafayette from True Blood was in that.
That's true. He was. Chris Columbus was originally hired to be the director of Christmas Vacation, but Chevy Chase was such a dick to him that he quit.
That's all you hear. That's going to be his legacy. He was
100%.
very amusing for his one year at Saturday Night Live and some of his early movies, but mostly he's remembered as being a dick to everybody.
Total dick. And John Hughes, who wrote Christmas Vacation, was the producer, said, "I've got another script for you." And that was Home Alone, which became a huge international success.
Which I don't care for at all. I don't like sassy children. And frankly, I feel that is also a disturbing Christmas movie. His parents are like monsters.
And
little Macaulay was so cute.
He's awful. Yeah. That kid is
He's awful, and they're awful.
I would have left his ass behind as well. Let's see. Cast. Zach Galligan played Billy. We know him because he was also in Waxwork. He basically did the Gremlins movies and the Waxwork movies. He did many other things, but nothing else that I really care about. So there you go.
All right.
Fair enough. Phoebe Cates played Kate. You know her from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Drop Dead Fred.
Oh, God,
Gremlins.
Remember that. Yeah.
And Private School in 1983.
No one saw that. Basically, once she got married, she was out. I was just reading an article that they were gonna never be working at the same times, and every time it was her turn, she was always like, "Eh."
Corey Feldman played Pete, the way too young friend of Billy.
Yeah.
You know him from Stand By Me, The Lost Boys, The Goonies, which was also written by Chris Columbus, and The Burbs. Joe Dante loved him, evidently.
The Burbs was not the best, but The Goonies is a classic. Nobody exploded in a microwave.
As far as we know. Dick Miller played Mr. Futterman. You know him.
Mr. Futterman.
He was in The Terminator, The Burbs.
If I get another cat, I'm going to call it Mr. Futterman.
You should. Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight and Gremlins. All sorts of good stuff.
We love Dick Miller.
100%. Anybody else? Judge Reinhold was Gerald. You know him from Beverly Hills Cop, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Beverly Hills Cop 2. The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I think that's about it. Let's look at the ratings, shall we?
Let's.
Gremlins, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, 86%. Do you know what the audience gave it?
78.
78! Right on the dot. Look at you.
That's because the audience is now, not the audience then. You know what I mean?
Who's to say? Let's see. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times says, at the level of serious film criticism, it's a meditation on the myths in our movies. Christmas, families, monsters, retail stores, movies, boogeymen. At the level of pop movie going, it's a sophisticated, witty B movie. 3 out of 4. Look at that.
It's witty. I agree with the B movie part, but I'm not sure if I agree with the witty, except for the tales of why I hate Christmas.
What's funny is Leonard Maltin, famously hated this movie and gave it a horrible review.
Yeah.
They brought him in and cast him in Gremlins 2, getting killed by the Gremlins, which he did. He thought it was funny. Peter Travers of People magazine says, here's the season's most delicious and unexpected surprise. Despite the horror flick title, Gremlins is a movie of wicked wit and startling invention, and it has a heart that's at least a match for the special effects.
What?
I don't know.
What kind of bullshit is that?
Some of these are impossible to understand.
They're impossible to understand because they make no goddamn sense. You're like, I'm not sure what movie we're talking about at this point.
Vincent Canby of the New York Times says, Gremlins is far more interested in showing off its knowledge of movie lore and making random jokes than in providing consistent entertainment. Damn it.
All right, Vincent.
So what is
for your list?
What is your rating for Gremlins, Aaron?
I can't remember ever being super excited about this movie. It starts off really interesting. It starts off good. You got the wacky inventor. Why doesn't his invention save the day? What's the point of having him as the wacky inventor? You know what I mean?
That's Hoyt Axton, famous country music singer, for some reason.
Yes.
He serves no purpose.
He was acting though. But I mean, what's the point of doubling down that he's this wacky dude if you're not going to have his wackiness save the day? So there's a lot of nonsense for nonsense sake. So the beginning of it, I'm on board. Gizmo is darling. And immediately, first of all, why don't you say what will happen if it's exposed to water if you feed it?
They did say that the sunlight will kill it. Is about as much elaboration as you get on the rules. You're right.
I'm going to need some kind of a sheet, a piece of paper to write this stuff down. And then it just becomes just a mass of nonsense at the second half. So
what's your rating?
I'm going to give it a 3. I'm going to give it 3 for the half a movie that it is.
Interesting. One moment that I did not talk about is the dad, who's the inventor, goes to an invention convention, I guess, and he's talking to them on the phone. If you look over his left shoulder, there's the time machine from the 1959 classic, whatever it was, with Rod Taylor. And it cuts, he's like, the conversation cuts back to the family they're talking to.
Well, Robbie the robot walked right up to him from Lost in Space.
But when the camera cuts back, the time machine's not there anymore. Just a lot of smoke. So
no, that's a good sight gag. Yeah. Instead, I was so confused by all the other sight gags that I just eventually just burnt out and lost interest. But that would have been fun.
Look, I own this movie. I'm sure you'll be shocked.
I'm sure you do.
I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie, but there's no question. It's one of those movies where you ask, who is this movie for? Is this a family movie? Because it's ridiculously violent. Right. It really is. It is. Now, it's not Saw, right? An
No.
adult could watch this and not be like running from the room screaming or throwing up.
I'm
You don't
still
need to
waiting for
bother with
Eli
that.
Roth to remake it, so it
Right.
could be Saw in the future.
It's not a Fulci film. But if you're sitting there with your 9-year-old and they put
Yeah.
the goddamn gremlin in the blender and chunks of gremlin are flying out of the goddamn gun, that's serious shit. That's
I mean, we're not
traumatizing.
prudes. We're not
No.
prudes. We have seen Fulci films.
Yes.
We love a good Argento death. But
100%.
when you're saying this is a family Christmas movie,
Yes.
then you're kind of confused.
Right.
The fact that it had come up with special ratings for this, I mean,
Right.
come on.
They did. It's just like that shit's crazy. I think I liked it a little more than you. I'm gonna give it 3.75.
That's significantly more, I think.
I don't think you need to watch this every Christmas. I think that would be strange and peculiar. But I would say,
What about
if
once
you-
a month? Can I watch it once a month?
what? I think you have to watch it at least once a month. No question. No question. I enjoyed it more than you, and there are parts that gave me a lot of nostalgia. But watching it through adult eyes, and you see, I mean, basically every character is killed in this, except for Phoebe Cates and Billy, Zach Galligan.
The whole town
Everybody-
is dead.
yes. Because
It's a massacre.
problem is that there's a lot of scenes where it's like Corey Feldman is trying to fend off the gremlins climbing in his window, and then they never cut back to him again. So all I
We
can
assume
assume
he's
is
dead.
you assume he's dead, 100%. Anyway,
So what happens the next day when, I mean, Stripe bubbled and disappeared? Are they just gonna put these two, lock them up, and put them in the death house like they're mass murderers?
he only bubbles because he gets direct sunlight. So I don't know if they go through the rubble of the blown up movie theater, there must be chunks of gremlins amongst the rubble, correct?
But as soon as they tear down the building and the light hits, I'm guessing Bubble and hiss.
Bubble and squeak. Who's to
Bubble
say?
and squeak.
I haven't seen Gremlins 2 in a while. It may start from like Death Row, for all I know. I don't remember what the situation
They've
is.
shaved Phoebe Cates' head. They're strapping her in.
100%. Sweet Jesus. Any last thoughts of Gremlins? God damn it.
I have no thoughts. No thoughts.
So, thank you very much. We are on Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok, Instagram. You may be watching us on YouTube at this very moment. Who's to say?
Maybe.
You can email us the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail.
Gmail.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I'm on the gram. The Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I have artwork on Etsy and First Dibs. Aaron Doherty. Instant Dreams Gallery. Buy something.
Well, and you were also like, what's your story? What's
Ooh.
going on? Tell us.
So
dirt.
it's the 100th anniversary for the Legion of Honor up in San Francisco. It's an art museum. So I became a member last year because every time I go to this conference up there every year, and one day is a free day. So one of my flyers was they wanted pictures of, from whatever, of people at the Legion of Honor. So I sent a couple pictures. I had gone up there dressed like Kim Novak from Vertigo, because Vertigo, the Legion of Honor is a huge story, takes place at the Legion of Honor, because there's this portrait of Carlotta. She's supposed to be reincarnated in this woman. So I did my best White House black market dress and pretended I was Kim Novak. And that's the picture that they chose. So I'm on their website for member stories of the 100 years. They only picked like 5 people. So
That's
I'm like,
super
whoop,
cool,
whoop.
Aaron. That's great.
Yeah.
So what website do people go to see this?
No, you don't have to Google the San Francisco Legion of Honor.
Very cool. Very cool indeed.
It's on their website. Yeah.
So check that good stuff out.
Whoop,
Next
whoop.
week. Next week. Wait a minute. Before we get to next week, Aaron, as we like to do, we like to include questions, comments from our friends across the interwebs. So what you got?
Dude, I had somebody on TikTok send me a question. What is this movie? Is this a TV show? What's the name of it? And I go back to look at the video. And it says literally body parts. I said, it is Body Parts, a movie. Also, Fester Trim wrote in wanting to know if we are going to watch Nosferatu. And I'm not sure because I've seen 2 versions of it and fell asleep in both. So I can't imagine this is going to be better.
Well, you never know. I'm down to see it. If you want to see it, we can definitely add it to the list.
All right. I'm down to clown.
Down to clown. Next week, we're going to be discussing the horror old classic, Manitou, with Burgess Meredith, Tony Curtis. Anybody else?
And I gotta tell you, it's an all-star cast. The more I see it, the better it gets.
I remember.
Could be Tony Curtis's most triumphant role.
Could be. I mean, is it Spartacus or is it the Manitou? That's a question. You had seen the Manitou years before I had. Only thing I knew about the Manitou is anytime somebody got like a zit or a carbuncle, the family would be like, "You have a Manitou growing out of the side of your head? What's the story?"
For sure, children. I'm like, you should get Dr. Pimple Popper over here because I got a Manitou coming up on my
100%,
chin.
100%. So anyway,
and there's no way we saw it in the theater. We'd been way too young.
No.
This is definitely one of those blockbuster rentals.
100%. So you can watch it. You're gonna have to pay. You have to pay to watch it, and then when you watch,
you're gonna pay and pay again.
100%.
I think it's $20 to buy it or something ridiculous.
You can buy it if you're so inclined on Fandango at home for $9.99. I will not be doing that.
You bought Crazy Gremlins? I think this is superior. You're like, is it the Manitou or is it Altered States? Who can say?
Who can say? It's on.
Now that's a perfect crossover right there.
It's on Apple Plus. It's on. And I think Fandango at home, if I'm thinking about this correctly. So you can watch it there.
I watched it on Amazon. All those bastards charge you.
You're probably going to spend $3.99 to watch it. So just buckle up.
Yeah, you notice how Amazon just keeps yanking it up? They're going to charge me more for my yearly subscription. Meanwhile, they're going to charge me more for all my rentals too while they're in it.
That's how they do. So check that out. Send us any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may just talk about it on the show.
Maybe.
So, thank you very much, and be well.
I say good day.